Hi, everyone. We have an intro. It's from Den. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We have many things to discuss. I'm going to get to them soon. Remember, as always, you can go to patreon.com/Hemant to support everything I do. I appreciate that if you're able to do that. You can also subscribe for free to my newsletter at friendlyatheist.com. I will take your questions and super chats throughout the night. We'll get to them in between stories. And one other very exciting thing, if you don't mind, give me 1 second here to pull this up. But it's something I'm very excited about. As soon as I could figure out how to make this work, this is the thing I want to show you. This Tuesday night, Humanists for Harris is going to meet. It is all those Zoom calls that took place earlier this election cycle after Kamala Harris became the nominee, when it was like white guys for Harris and cat ladies for Harris and all that stuff. Well, this Tuesday night, we're doing Humanists for Harris. I will be participating in that. I'll be speaking throughout the night, but also look at this list of people who are confirmed to appear on the show. Congressman Jared Huffman, Jamie Raskin, Sasha Sagan, the daughter of Carl Sagan, Ann Druyan, attorney Andrew Seidel, climatologist Michael Mann. We have other people who are being added to this list regularly. Fantastic event on Tuesday night. If you are able to make it, all they ask is that you register for free, and Den will leave the link in the comments so you can register. And again, it's free to participate, to join in. More than anything, the goal is just to help people, not just remind you to vote, not just to get you to donate money to the campaigns, but also to make sure you're active in ways that are meaningful for you and helpful depending on where you live, to make sure other people can be active in the last few weeks to come. So I hope you could join me for that Tuesday night. That event takes place 7:30 Chicago time, 8:30 East Coast time, and all those details are at the link Den has for you in the comments section of this, bit.ly/humanists for Harris. That is sponsored by the Secular Democrats of America. I'm excited for that. So that should be fun. All right. I have 300 tabs open for you tonight. The first thing I wanted to start talking about is our buddy Ryan Walters again, because he's on every show. Now, last week, when I talked about him on this live stream, it was because he wanted to spend at least $3 million of taxpayer money on King James Version Bibles for teachers all across the state of Oklahoma. Ryan Walters, of course, is the Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Instruction. And I won't rehash everything. You could just watch that other video if you want to. But the gist of it was that his office had already released a formal request for publishers to bid on providing 55,000 Bibles to teachers across the state. In theory, a book publisher can say, oh, just tell me what you want, and I'll print up the books right away for the cheapest possible cost to taxpayers. And what do you want in it? And this is what he said last week when we spoke. This is what he said every book. This is what he wanted from the publishers. This is version 1.0. It said, look at 2.3. We need 55,000 Bibles with shipping, and you need to send it to each school district, and you need to do it in under 2 weeks after we sign a contract. Which means very fast turnaround. If you're a publisher that does not have 55,000 Bibles sitting in a warehouse somewhere, you're not going to have enough time to get these up and running. 2.4 here said you have to provide the KJV Bible for historical accuracy. What? No, but okay. So we need the Old and New Testament and the KJV Bible. This is interesting. 2.5. In the Bible, you have to include the Pledge of Allegiance, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And it's like, imagine you're a Bible publisher and you're thinking, jackpot, I have 3 million Bibles sitting in my garage somewhere. Why don't I apply for this? And I can make a lot of money very quickly. But you probably don't have those patriotic documents just sitting in those Bibles. And then finally, it also said no study guides, no publisher narrations, no other commentary, none of those like cool teen Bibles. We don't want any of those. We want old school KJV. And then the weird thing in 2.7, the supplier's Bible must be bound in leather or leather like material. No paperbacks, none of those. No, no, no. You need a hardcover. And the reason we talked about this last week is because when you read that list of requirements, it seemed like only one Bible would fit all those qualifications and could be sent to Oklahoma teachers in a relatively quick time. And it was the Trump Bible, the one he was hawking earlier this summer, the one that costs $59.99 plus shipping, and that included exactly all of those things, and that was bound in leather or something similar to leather. Like, the story was that Ryan Walters appeared to want to spend more than $3 million of taxpayer money on Trump Bibles, which was basically a way to say, hey, Donald Trump, we here in Oklahoma want to give you a share of $3 million, whatever cut you get from it, and we'll take all those Bibles that no one wants to buy off your hands. And so that was disturbing. Also, why do you need 55,000 Bibles? Like, there are fewer teachers in Oklahoma than 55,000, and not all of them, even under Ryan Walters' rules, would need Bibles. So none of this made any sense. Basically, if you did the math, Ryan Walters wanted to spend like $140 a Bible. None of this made any sense. Okay. And so I also pointed out last week that when reporters at the news outlet Oklahoma Watch asked book publishers, do any of you have Bibles that meet these criteria? One massive publisher said, we carry 2,900 Bibles. None of them meet these criteria. Like, we could not supply Oklahoma schools with what Ryan Walters wants. Okay, what was amazing about this is that this story seemed to make national news. Like, late night comics made fun of it. Newspapers, national newspapers made fun of it because everyone knew Ryan Walters was basically using taxpayer dollars to try to buy Trump Bibles. And why I bring this up is that this week, it turned out Ryan Walters' office is very offended by the notion that what you guys are blaming us? You think we want to buy the Trump Bible? No, that's totally not what we're trying to do, when really the problem is that they got caught. So Ryan Walters and his office, they amended the rules to say, look, you guys, we're not going for the Trump Bible. So we're going to change the rules we put in place so that you know we're not just looking for the Trump Bibles. And here's what they changed. And they got headlines for that too, that they amended their criteria after people called them out on wanting to buy Trump Bibles. So they made a couple of changes, and I want to show you what those changes are. The first one is this one right here. This is an amendment they made on October 7th. You could see that right up here, October 7th. And they say this: the new closing date, how long do you have to turn in a bid proposal? Well, one of the critiques they got is that they only had that window when you could apply to provide all these books open for 2 weeks. And everyone was like, how is anyone going to know between now and 2 weeks from now if they can print up 55,000 Bibles from scratch with all the things you need? Like, you can't do that unless you just have the book sitting in a warehouse like the Trump people do. So now they changed it to October 21st. That gives everyone 3 weeks to submit proposals. Is that really much of a change? Not really. As people pointed out last week, usually when you have proposals like this, the standard window is 4 weeks. So they went from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. It's a little better, but also this still doesn't give publishers a lot of time to figure out if they can provide everything Oklahoma needs. So that seems like a change, but it's not really a change. It's a cosmetic change. It doesn't make any meaningful difference. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I showed you that request for proposal. Well, they changed that too. Check out their new rules. This is in the amended version. Look above my is it here? Oh, I'm sorry, the date's not on here, but that's okay. Look at these new rules here. So they still say we need 55,000 Bibles. They still say we need the KJV. This is interesting now. All those patriotic documents, the Pledge, the Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, look at this last line. These can be bound together or separately. Separately. So now you don't need these to be included in the Bible. So for all those like the Gideons who might have old KJV Bibles just sitting around, they might be able to apply because guess what? It looks from here like you could just print out the Pledge of Allegiance off of a website, put together a mini pamphlet of like, I don't know, 15, 20 pages, staple it together, and hand teachers a copy of that printout along with the Bibles, right? Because it could be bound separately. And that sounds like it opens the door to more bidders. However, let's keep reading. 2.6, no study guides, narration. Yeah. Same as before. Now look at this. 2.7. You still got to have the Bible in leather or leather-like material for durability. But look at this new thing they added. The additional documents listed in 2.5, all the Bill of Rights, Declaration, must also be bound in durable material, which is a way of saying, do not print these out and staple it. We know you are all thinking about doing that. No. You need to create a brand new book that is bound in like something hardcover that we can also hand out to students. So your options are either the Pledge of Allegiance and the Constitution's already in your Bible book, or we're going to make you create a brand new book with like 5 pages on the inside that just contain all this shit in fine print. All this does is it pretends like we're opening the door to more bidders, but no, it doesn't. Because who's going to create a brand new book with just a couple of documents anyway? That doesn't make any sense. So they got the headlines they wanted, that they're amending the proposal now that everyone's yelling about the Trump Bible. But the changes they're making still make it so that the Trump Bible people are the only people who can apply. It's not really a change at all. So I just want to point out that they're not making any reasonable change here. It's just a pointless exercise. I don't know why they even bothered amending this at all. It's just a meaningless requirement that they added. Interestingly enough, when the Associated Press wrote about this, and I want to show you their headline, Oklahoma amends request for Bibles that initially appeared to match only version backed by Trump. That actually is a win for Oklahoma and Ryan Walters because it makes it sound like, look, we heard your criticism, we made the changes. But I just showed you, they did not make any real changes. But look down here, when his office responds. Why did they make the changes? Well, unfortunately, there have been false reports that have been repeated by numerous supposedly credible news organizations that the state's request for proposal was catered to one specific organization. Why would anyone think that? I don't know. Noting that tailoring the request so that only one manufacturer's Bible would qualify would be illegal. And then some spokesperson says the changes were made to the request to try to save taxpayers money. Our office worked with the State Department of Education to amend the solicitation to provide the listed resources at a much better value to Oklahomans. I don't know what the hell that means. That is bullshit. No, they didn't try to provide better value to Oklahomans because I, right now, could provide them better value for everything. You know why? If you want the KJV Bible, here's what you do. You go to Google and you type in KJV Bible and you get it for free. You want the Declaration of Independence? Free on the internet. You want the U.S. Constitution? I've heard there are more than one copies of it floating around on the interwebs. Everything they want is free, but Ryan Walters wants them to spend more than $3 million on all of it. And he's putting stupid hurdles in place for publishers who might be able to provide it for them because he doesn't want them to apply for this. The only book that qualifies is either the Trump Bible that he's been hawking for a few months or a different Trump Bible that costs even more money. None of this makes any sense unless Ryan Walters wants to give a giant taxpayer funded gift to Donald Trump. Okay? The idea that this amended request saves people money? How? No, it doesn't. That's just another lie. It theoretically opens the door to other publishers, but the pointless hurdles shut pretty much every other company out. So I will be paying attention in the next few weeks to seeing who's applying to provide these Bibles, because it's pretty much just the Trump people. Who else is going to apply for that? I don't know. I think it'd be hilarious if, like, the Satanic Temple decided to take part in this, but I don't think they have the capacity to print up 55,000 Bibles with everything you need inside. So we will see. And again, all of this is free online. Teachers already have the option of using the Bible in the classroom in an objective way if they feel it's necessary for what they want to teach. And more importantly, teachers are not clamoring to have copies of this Bible in their classroom. Superintendents have already pushed back against Ryan Walters, saying, we don't need this. Our teachers don't need this. We're not participating in this charade. And also, our teachers already have the option of using the Bible if they feel it's necessary. And I know a lot of you pointed this out last week. Oklahoma is one of the worst states in the country, by one measure, ranked like 49th in education in the country when it comes to all this stuff. Ryan Walters seems very determined to do two things: drag Oklahoma to the very bottom of the list, and if Donald Trump wins election, he wants to become the next Secretary of Education. That's my guess. That's my prediction. And that's why he's doing all of this. None of this helps students. None of this helps teachers. I'm pretty sure parents don't want the schools teaching their kids the Bible, but this is what he thinks is best for the state. It's very disturbing. It's all pointless. And again, this is all pointing back to he wants to spend taxpayer dollars on the Trump Bible. All right, I'm going to stop there for now. Let's talk about any questions and then we'll move on. Ryan is chewing for a position in Trump's administration. That's all he wants. He doesn't have any skills. No one liked him in Oklahoma, including plenty of Republican lawmakers who are like, hey, you're supposed to give us inhalers for students. You haven't gotten around to that. Like, there's a lot of reasons he's just bad at his job, to the point that even Republicans in Oklahoma are like, this guy's bad at his job. And do you know how bad you have to be for Republicans to say you're incompetent at your government job? Trump has got to love this, taking taxpayer money and giving it straight to Donald. I know it's not even a lot for someone like Trump. Like, I know he gets a cut of these Bibles, which, by the way, I know you saw this in the news too. Where are those Bibles made? In China. Like, of course, it's a gift to China ultimately when it comes to Trump. But again, he has to do no work. These Bibles that no one was buying and are just lying around, he gets to offload them to Oklahoma and make those kids dumber, and he makes money off of it. Like, this is everything Donald Trump loves. How do Satanists make the best offer? I don't know. I don't know how much it would cost for them to books like this, but I wonder if they could just get it ready to go. And if they submit a bid and end up saying, yeah, you know, the Trump Bibles cost like $60, we'll give it to you for 55 and we'll include everything you want. And there's a little pentagram symbol on each page or whatever. How fun would that be if they could get in a proposal? Don't know if it's going to happen, but that would be funny. How dare these other Bibles include commentary from actual Bible scholars? We don't want anything in the Bible that might imply the Bible is less than the completely perfect word of God. I know. Sometimes commentary is actually critical, and that's definitely not anything they want kids to see. It's so frustrating. All right. Sign up there for the newsletter. I'm going to jump to the next story here in just a second, and I'm going to close whatever tabs I can. All right. Let me take a sip of this first. All right. Let's talk about Louis. Now, If you are a parent, if you know any parents, then you know there is only one children's show that kids love and parents can tolerate. All right. It is Bluey. And the whole show, if you're not familiar, it's centered around a family of four dogs living in Australia. And as a parent, and I have seen plenty of Bluey episodes myself, what do I like about it? The jokes have multiple layers. It's funny to me, it's funny to the kids, maybe for different reasons. The music is freaking amazing. And also, like, if your kids want to watch Bluey, it's not the worst way to spend your time. Okay. You may have seen this earlier in the year, but there was a season finale for season 3 of Bluey that was so damn good. Adults were crying. Seriously, if you're on the internet right now, go on Google, type in Bluey season finale, the sign, crying. Like, it was emotionally impactful. That's how good the episode was. And listen, I've seen my share of really annoying kids' cartoons over the past several years. Bluey's actually good. And it seems like, unlike a lot of shows, it's almost universally liked by people. And the thing is, whenever anything is liked that much by that many people, there are going to be knee-jerk contrarians who want to tell you why it sucks. It's like all those right-wing people who are like, let me tell you why Taylor Swift is actually bad for you. It's like, no one cares. Let us have her. She's enjoyable. We're all good. Anyway, so what happened in this case? There is a conservative writer named Jeremy Pryor, and he's very upset with the show Bluey. And that's because on the show, Bluey, who is the girl, she's the daughter of this family, her father, Bandit, he is an archaeologist who's also a very loving dad to Bluey and her sister. And Jeremy Pryor has a very big problem with that. So this was published in The Blaze, which is a right wing outlet. And just look at the headline here. First of all, look above my head. There's the family. They're adorable. And let's see here how a beloved children's cartoon turns fathers to mothers, and what the Bible says about it, because that's really the take we were looking for. I read that headline and I thought, is this guy doing something transphobic with Bluey? Because I don't know. I don't remember that episode. But no, that's not where he was going with this. And I would also tell you this: Jeremy Pryor actually wrote this article like a year and a half ago on his personal website. And for whatever reason, the Blaze decided to pick it up this week. I don't know why, but it's not like it's a brand new article in any meaningful way. I would also tell you that the original article that Jeremy Pryor wrote on his website has been deleted. I think he's that embarrassed by all the people responding to this piece that was posted on the Blaze. Okay, so anyway, what is Pryor's problem with this show? Let's read about what he says. Okay, there's only one problem with this new ideal father. He embodies almost all of the elements of the traditional mother, purged of the essence of elements from the historic father. What the hell is this guy talking about already? Apparently, Bandit's not manly enough as a cartoon dog. Okay, what happens? The dad, Bandit, is seen as a constantly nurturing, always present playmate to his two daughters, Bluey and Bingo. He's so present, in fact, that fans of the show often joke about when Bandit finds time to work. And in the show, it's clear that the mother has less time to play than the dad. Oh no, he's a nurturing, present father? This sounds horrible. What the hell? We'll scroll down a bit here. What else does he say? Um, Ah, I first heard of red flags in Bluey from my two teenage daughters, who watched an episode after hearing from so many Christian families who loved the show, and they immediately saw what was happening. Oh my God, what happened? Their first statement was something like, they treat their dad like a plaything. Horrifying. The kids play with their father. I can't believe this. This is the best part of the article. I then watched one 3-minute clip on YouTube from a different episode, and saw what they were so alarmed by. I'll pause here for a second. This is not an exaggeration. He did not watch a 3-minute clip followed by, like, I then watched 5 episodes. No. Everything he knows about Bluey is from one 3-minute clip. And it's not even like a bad 3-minute clip. It's just a random 3-minute clip from Louis. And he says, there are hundreds of interesting elements of fatherhood that one can glean from studying how God interacts with the meta father, Abram. But I'm pretty sure Bandit is in no way tethered to this understanding of fatherhood. Oh my God. This is so comically bad in terms of a review. Here's what I can gather from what we have read so far. Bandit plays with his kids. Bandit also dresses up in wacky costumes to humor his children. And he also never hits them with a rod. And that apparently makes him a beta male, like the antithesis of God's plan, the sort of father real Christians hate. And by the way, this idea that Bandit never even works, that's not true, because true fans of Bluey, this season, Bluey's dead bandit went on an archaeological trip that lasted 6 straight weeks, and he was gone from home during that entire time, and that's what the episode was about. And then he came back and he missed everybody. There was a nice reunion. Unbelievable. So, what else do we have to say here? Pryor doesn't say he watches the show. He doesn't say he actually doesn't talk about the show beyond everything I just shared with you. There is not much more about Bluey in that article. Like he said, he's only watched one 3-minute clip. And then he wrote like 1,400 words on the topic of masculinity, Bible-based masculinity, whatever. So what is it that he thinks a real father ought to be doing? Because if you're going to say Bandit's a bad father, tell us what a real father looks like, right? We don't hear that in the article. He doesn't say. He just kind of hints at it because he refers to traditional gender roles. He says that embracing these kinds of portrayals will go a long way in shaping our intuition around the essence of these roles, which is a long way of saying, I don't know what. If we watch Bluey, it's bad for us. Like if we had more fathers like it, like the sort of father kids actually like, society will be ruined. The story that he wrote is actually really boring because it doesn't even make a strong argument for why Bandit is bad. I guess it's hard to do that when your entire understanding of the character is revolving around a single clip. But considering that's how most Christians read the Bible, I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that he doesn't get it. I actually wish he had not deleted his original article from the internet because I want to show you this. This is the image he included with his original essay. And I'm going to remove myself here. You could see Bluey on the left and Bluey's sister Bingo on the right. And you see the dad Bandit in the middle. And this was included in the article, I assume, to show, like, look at the father, look at how demasculinized he is. This is not a good man right here. And I guess, okay, if you want to show that the dad's not manly, this is one way to do it. But I do think it's worthwhile to tell you where this image is coming from. So that scene is from an episode in which the two kids put on a show for their parents about how their parents first met, which is adorable. And at one point they say, we need like a volunteer, and they drag daddy into their storytelling, and he reluctantly agrees to put on the baby costume. Is he happy about that? No. Is it funny as a viewer to see that sight gag? Absolutely. The point is, he did something he didn't want to do because it amused his kids. How is that a bad role model? Right? And look at what this guy writes, Pryor. Look at what he writes in this essay of his. Our culture loves this depiction of fatherhood. It empties the father character of all the elements of the traditionally masculine father we've grown uncomfortable with. And at the same time, it provides freedom for the mother to get out in the world and explore her individual passions. This is written as if this is a bad thing. Oh no, the mother's going to get out and explore something she loves? Can't have that. And this guy's not masculine enough. Oh my, listen, if your idea of a traditional masculine father is an abusive asshole who thinks a woman's place is in her home, then sure, Bandit's not your guy. But that's why he's not just a good father, he's better than the traditional guys we're used to seeing. The weird thing is, Pryor treats Bandit like a problem when really it's the sort of thing you would hope any decent father would do for his kids: play with them, make them laugh, be kind and gentle while also creating sensible boundaries when you need to. You would think Pryor would appreciate that a hell of a lot more than typical sitcom or cartoon dads. Because if you think about it, you think of Homer Simpson or something like that. Or Peter Griffin, what do all these guys have in common? They're all idiots who marry up, who have no discernible skills, who seem completely oblivious to their kids' needs. Like, are those the dads he thinks we should be looking up to? Because Bandit's none of those things, but he doesn't like it. And by the way, he said something else that was just comically wrong about all this. He wanted to make an argument that Bluey's some sort of liberal conspiracy, and look at how he did it here. Check this out. Creating a daughter named Bluey using the color blue is totally lost on us. Like, he caught it, but you idiots did not. It goes right past our conscious awareness. If we do think about it like he has, we think it's cool that they're reversing the gender stereotype of colors, because you would expect this dog to be pink. We're playing checkers with those who are playing chess, and we have been checkmated over and over again. So, in this guy's weird ass Christian view, Bluey is blue because the creators of Bluey are trying to subvert gender norms. And like, why we could have made this girl pink, but we're going to make her blue to brainwash your kids. No, that's not why Bluey is that way. Bluey isn't blue because the creators are trying to push back against gender norms. Bluey is blue because the brand of dog that this family is, as you could see here, they're Australian cattle dogs, and they are referred to as blue heelers. They are a dog that exists in Australia. Swear, blue heelers, Bluey. Do you get it? That's why the name is Bluey. And if you're going to name a dog Bluey, then coloring it blue makes sense. So this guy is so desperate to find a conspiracy in a show where there isn't one that he's literally getting basic facts wrong. Like, I guess the one consolation to all of this is that when I read the Blaze article and I scrolled down to the comments, which is something you should never do, even the right-wing commenters are like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Just to give you an example of what they said on the Blaze's website. What a sad take on such a great show. The world is on fire and this show isn't one of the problems. I think you're really reaching to come to this critical analysis. Like, you know, it's a bad article when even Trump voters are like, I think you're taking this too far. So anyway, if you're keeping score, conservatives hate childless cat ladies, childless women in general, childless couples, those are horrible, gay couples with children, gay couples without children, straight couples who have kids who were conceived through IVF, and apparently straight couples with naturally born children if they are dogs and daddy is too nice. So that's where we're at today. I think I'll stop there. What other questions we got about this horrible article? Fellas, is it effeminate to love your family? No kidding. Seriously, they show a dad who's nice to their kids, and this guy's like, not manly enough. In my day, we hit our kids and yell at them and never look them in the eye. Like Jesus would with his kids. Wait, he saw 3 minutes of a show, didn't like it, and is now speaking out against its evils. Standard Christian outrage, anyone? I mean, hey, again, I know I said this earlier, but these people will read one out of context passage from the Bible and use it to base their entire like political worldview. So par for the course for guys like this. Ironic, the people advocating for an ever present father are complaining about a present father. That's what I don't get. You could easily make the case that Bandit represents the ideal Christian father, but that would mean you're praising something that is like mainstream cartoon. And I think that would play well with a Christian audience that tries to reject everything in traditional media. My father used to let us play beauty parlor and put barrettes and bows in his hair. Right? It's just fun. No one cares. It's not gender bending. It's just, all right, kid, if it'll shut you up for a few minutes and it makes you laugh, let's do it. Like, my hair is too short for my kids to do that sort of thing, but we've definitely played a lot of other stuff that I'm sure this dude wouldn't like, but it's like, whatever. If wrestling makes them laugh and things, like, go for it. It's fun. Those, I tell you what, cartoon or not, Bandit's kids will grow up to want a relationship with that guy. I promise you, any father that's grown up like a James Dobson, give me something to whip you with. If that's your type of fatherhood, your kids will not want to tell you things. They will not want to spend time with you when you're older. I mean, we've heard that story many times over. I'm not sure why Pryor is eager to repeat it. All right, like and subscribe. You know the drill. Let me pull up the next story here. Oh, I'm so happy to share this. I wanted to share this with you last week, and we didn't have time because we ran over. But we're going to talk about this now. Okay, this has video too. I have spent the past couple of weeks apparently upsetting a Christian blogger and a professional mommy shamer named Lori Alexander. She goes by the Transformed Wife online, and she's very upset with me because I committed the cardinal sin of quoting her accurately. And she's really upset anyone would take her words at face value because they always make her look bad. Okay. Now, if you are not familiar with Lori Alexander, first of all, congratulations. I wish I were you. But basically, she's a fundamentalist Christian woman. She dedicates her life to making a trad wife lifestyle seem as unappealing as humanly possible. Let me give you a hint of what she has said in the past, because she once made a video where she said, I'm going to summarize and then I will play you the video, but I want you to prepare yourself for this. She made a video where she said, women should just let their husbands have sex with them whenever they want, regardless of how a woman feels, because it's a woman's job to just obey her husband. And in her mind, there's no such thing as marital rape because a woman should just always consent because they're married. What's the big deal? And then I want you to pay close attention to what she compares sex to. If you don't know where I'm going with this, you're about to hear it. Here is this video. It's from about 6 years ago.
My husband was telling me sometimes men just, in the middle of the night, there's a woman, their wife, laying next to them, and they just start wanting to have sex with them. And they're not completely woken up, they're not thinking straight, they just have this need to want sex. And so they start having sex with their wives. Now at this point, the wife can either say, honey, I'm just really tired, how about in the morning? Or go along with it and have a great time. Sometimes those are the best times, Often when we obey God instead of what we want, that's where we find the blessings. And so when you clean your toilet, you have the blessing of a clean toilet. When you're not depriving your husband, you have a blessing of a husband that's very happy with you for not depriving him.
There you go, everybody. Obligatory sex with your spouse is just like cleaning a toilet. It's unpleasant, but you just gotta do it. Like, if that's the best advice you have. By the way, in that same video later on, she also says a woman should always say yes to her husband because, and I am quoting here, how long does it take? So, true romantic, that one. Do I want to know about her sex life? I do not. I feel like I already know too much, though, and I didn't need to know any of it. Now, what else has she said in the past? Let's take a brief journey through some of the other things she has said in the past. For example, this is just a headline from her website. Not one Bible verse instructs women to have careers. Nope. Who told you that was a good idea, ladies? This was a classic. This is from 2018. Women are destroying the medical profession. I enjoyed this one. Let us look at this. Women are taking men's positions in medical schools that belong to men. If you're a woman who applied to medical school and got accepted, how dare you? That should be a man's spot. I also enjoyed this bit later on. Silently, I grieve for the lack of grandchildren they will most likely have because of this decision. Apparently, if you're a female doctor, you're incapable of having children because you have no time for children, which will come as a surprise to all the women doctors I know who have no problem with having a family. They're somehow able to do it. She also says that paid family leave is a really bad idea. Why does she say that? Let's see. It makes it easier for women to work away from their homes and leave their children in the care of others with the support of taxpayers funding them. So that's why we shouldn't have paid family leave or subsidized childcare. It makes it too easy for women to actually have careers. I also enjoyed this one. Let's see. I had to go to like an incognito window because she has blocked me from the Twitter. But check out, I'm not sure how men could be attracted to women dressed as men, like female police officers and females in the military. Men can't be attracted to female cops or females in the military. These are men's jobs. If they weren't, then women could dress like women in these jobs, but they can't. Stick to being feminine, women. I mean, what would it take to disprove that? A female cop, a female soldier who's in a relationship, those people exist. She does not care to hear about it, apparently. There was also, if I can find it here somewhere, she also assumed, she's very obsessed with everyone else's weight. And she has an idea for why people are heavier. Many women are no longer cooking for their families. Sadly, many families are broken these days. The mothers aren't home during the days, or the parents are divorced. All of this has contributed to the obesity we are seeing in our country. So you see, ladies, if you're working and you're not cooking at home, it's making your family fat. And how dare you contribute to that? She's very upset about that. Maybe the most disturbing thing. This is why I had to get elsewhere because I think she's deleted this, and this is disturbing. So you have a warning when you see this. These are screenshots someone else took of things she has said online. Check this out. I'm going to enlarge this a bit. Some person on Facebook said, my grandfather, whoops, sorry about that, sexually molested young girls and posted picture of it on the internet. Jesus. My father made a choice to honor his father by never speaking ill of him and praying for him daily. However, to protect his own children, he was not allowed in our house. Now, I don't know how much of that is true. Oh my God, if that's true, that sounds horrifying. And so to this anonymous person, grandfather was a monster and dad never said anything about him, but grandfather was not allowed at home, which, yeah, that's the least you can do at that situation, right? What does Lori Alexander say about that? Well, here's what she said. He could have protected the children by allowing the grandfather in the home for short visits and keeping the children by his side closely watched. Grandfather was held captive in Satan's grip and on the way to spending an eternity in hell. And here's the next bit of that. The reason I have brought this story up is because I have been frequently asked how I would mentor a woman whose husband is a child molester, since I'm so opposed to divorce. If I were to mentor this woman, I would tell her not to divorce her husband. If her husband was the predator, I would not tell her to divorce her husband, but to allow the children to continue to see their father in brief periods of time with her or another trustworthy adult with them, so the children could still have a relationship with him. she would think in a hypothetical situation where a woman is married to a sex predator, she says, don't divorce him. Just let your kids hang out with him with your supervision because those kids need a relationship with Monster Daddy. Like, oh my God, what more grounds would you ever have for ending a relationship than my husband is a sex predator or grandfather's a sex predator? And this woman, Lori, is like, whatever, let your kids hang out with them. It's fine. Just keep an eye on them. Like, if you ever need advice, just look at what Lori says and then do the exact opposite. Jesus. And I've heard so many people, they will email me things she says, and they're like, hey, check out this hilarious parody of a Christian fundamentalist wife. And I have to respond to them like, she's not satire. She's very real. In fact, when something crazy she said went viral several years ago, a newspaper called the Daily Advertiser, I think in Louisiana, actually interviewed her in person. And they were like, yeah, she's real. Meet the transformed wife whose working mom chart rocked the world, because she said women should not be working moms. Like, she's real. She does exist. She said all these horrible things. Okay, so why am I talking about her now? Well, recently, like a couple of weeks ago, she made an 11-minute video where she talked about her own marriage. And it was so cartoonishly awful that I had to share excerpts with everyone online because you guys, look at what she's saying now. So, among many things she said in this video, she said marriage should not be built on emotions. Like, what? Oh, you need butterflies in your stomach to get married? No, you don't. You think you need to love your husband before you get married to him? No, of course not. She has actually said this many times. She says the sort of love you see in Hollywood, the passion you see in, Hollywood movies, all of that's fake. No one actually has that or needs that. You don't need any of it. So she says that when she first met her husband in college, I know it's hilarious because it's right there saying she went to college, which seems to go against everything else she says. She says she thought he was smart, but, quote, I was not attracted physically to him. I mean, he was tall, but I did not think he was handsome. That's a direct quote from her. And then she says she became mildly attracted to him at some point, but she adds, quote, there weren't those butterflies and the things that I thought should be there with a man I was supposedly in love with. And then he asked her to marry him, just kind of said it, no ring, no proposal. And she said, sure. And then she added, quote, I wasn't that excited though. This is all in the video. And she wondered, she says in the video, she wondered why she wasn't feeling anything. Because she always was taught, like, if you love someone, you're going to have these feelings for them. But then she said in the video, like, they were apart for a bit. Maybe he went somewhere for a while and she missed him. And that was that. That must have been love, right? So they got married. And then she said, like, there was still really no spark. But, and I'm telling you all because she spends at least half the video talking about how she really wasn't in love with the guy. She wasn't attracted to him. She didn't, I mean, maybe he was smart to her, but like, honestly, who isn't smart to this woman? Like, she says all that, but she says, yeah, I married him. Meh, I felt nothing. But eventually, I grew to feel like I was fine. That's about as much as she gets about all this. Because, of course, she is a woman who doesn't think you're allowed to get divorced. So that's not an option. So you're just stuck. And what she wants you to know is, even though she felt like she settled at the time, she's fine now. It's all right. See, it all worked out. And I need to remind you, this is all part of a video explaining why people should admire her marriage. Like, she said she felt bitter before the marriage. She says in the video, this man, I swear this is what she says, he stole my joy. And he gave her 0 butterflies on her wedding day. And guess how long she spent not feeling really much of anything toward him? 20 years. She spent 20 years not really interested in the dude. But don't worry, y'all. she's been married 44 years now, and it's all right. Now, like, she acts like she deserves some kind of award for sticking it out, as if the hallmark of a good marriage is longevity and not substance, as if it's the quantity of a marriage and not the quality that matters. And actually, I'm going to show this to you really quick. She says 20 years in the video, that she went 20 years and didn't really feel anything. But there is an Instagram post out there that she has made where, guess what she says? Someone asked her advice on initiating intimacy with her husband when she's tired and doesn't feel her best. And what did Lori say? Make up your mind to obey God regardless of how you're feeling. If I based intimacy with my husband with how I was feeling, we would not have had sex for 30 years. Love your husband. It's mind over matter. It's a choice. So I just want to reiterate that. If she based having sex with her husband and she only did that when she felt like it, they would not have had sex for 30 years. She's been married for 44 years. And 2/3 of it, she's like, don't really feel like it. This is a woman who thinks she's qualified to give marriage advice. One last thing, and then I will show you this. This is another post she has made on Facebook. Here we go. I want you to know that sex hurts me. I'm 57 years old with barely any hormones because of the damage done to my pituitary, but a bit of pain to please my husband has never bothered me. It's like I'm getting my fingers cut off or being persecuted, as many Christians around the world are being today. Pain isn't bad. We all will suffer pain in life. Our culture acts like pain is the worst thing in the world. Spanking a child on the butt, horrible. Pain in intercourse, terrible. None of these are anywhere near the pain many are experiencing today, and they are both for very good purposes. One for disciplining children to grow up to be disciplined adults, and the other to bring pleasure to our husbands. Like, oh, honey, listen, sex might be painful, but if it's continuing to be painful, you are doing it wrong. Like, you should see somebody about that. Like, part of me feels bad for this woman who has clearly never had an orgasm. But also, whatever, she brought this on herself. I mean, whatever her other health problems are, if sex hurts and your husband's like, don't care, we're going to do it anyway, I feel like I have more to say about your husband. And also, why does it hurt all the time? It's not like she says, sometimes it hurts. She just says, sex hurts me. By the way, I don't even know what this is in response to. I kind of want to say, honey, this is an Arby's. What are you doing? Where did this even, what prompted this comment? I have no idea. But anyway, this is who she is. This is what she says. To answer the comment that I see right now, no, I don't believe they know what lube is. But anyway, she says she's happy now. And the only reason she's telling us more than you ever wanted to know about your sex life, her sex life, is because she wants you to know it all turned out fine. She's been married for 44 years, and that's all that matters. And so what if everything sucks and she's never happy and she's never satisfied in the bedroom? Look, do I think she's happy? You know what? Doesn't matter. It's not marriage. It's not my business. I would not care about any of this except for the fact that she markets herself as someone who's in a position to give advice to other Christian women. That bothers me, because she should not be giving advice to anybody about marriage, because her message is so clear and disturbing. Don't worry if you're unhappy. Don't worry if you're not attracted to your partner. Don't worry if you don't feel any sort of passion for your spouse. Just stick it out, and maybe it'll turn out fine. That's what God wants. So what if your husband is abusing you physically in the bedroom? Just stick with it. Horrible advice. And by the way, I'm going to tell you one other thing. The last thing she says in the video, I want you to pay attention to it. I will show you a clip of it in a second. I want you to stay tuned to the last thing she says in the video. Okay. So she made this 11-minute video. In order to share it online, I tried to cut it down to something short because no one's going to watch an 11-minute video. I know that because I make 20-minute long segments here. This was about a 97-second video. It is spliced because I'm not showing you everything but I've told you the context now, okay? Let me show you what she said in the video.
When I first met him, I won't tell you how he was dressed or anything because I don't want to embarrass him, but I was not attracted physically to him. But there weren't those butterflies and the things that I thought should be there with a man that I was supposedly in love with. And he said to me, "How would you like to be Mrs. Alexander?" And I said, "Sure." That was it. No ring, no going on his knee, no nothing, And I wasn't that excited though. And we argued a lot about everything. We didn't get along that great. I felt like he stole my joy. I don't know what was wrong with me. And so I went on my wedding day and, none of those butterflies and excitement. I'd go to my bridal showers and none of that. It was just like this emptiness to me. It's like, why don't I have that in me? I don't like this. I want to have butterflies and so excited. But we discussed that divorce would never be in our vocabulary. So we got married. And the first 20 years were rough because I was still critical. So now that I've been married almost 44 years, I can tell you women that love is not an emotion. That is a really shaky, unstable ground to build your marriage upon. So anyway, women, remember, just because you've maybe lost the butterflies and the emotions and the feelings for your husband, that's not love. Well, I'm going to be going to church soon, and I will learn in silence with all submission.
That laugh at the end, man. That's some creepy shit. Do you hear what she said at the very end of that? I'm going to be going to church soon, and I will learn in silence with all submission, as God commands women. He actually said in that longer video, I have zero problem with any of God's commands because he is good and his ways are perfect. Bye-bye. Oh my God, it's horrifying. And if that's what a good Christian marriage is supposed to look like, no thank you. So anyway, you can see, like, she made this long video. I clipped it the way you just saw it, and I shared that, and that went viral for reasons you can imagine, because people saw that, and they're like, if this is your idea of a good marriage, that is horrifying. And it wasn't just atheists who were saying that. Plenty of Christians are like, Jesus Christ, this is horrible advice. And so, recently, Lori Alexander made a brand new post, and what did she title it? Ah, yes, the liars and deceivers among us. You guys, she's talking about me. Let's see what she wrote. Oh, that's my picture. Yes, there we go. Okay. Men decided to edit my video by taking out phrases and piecing them together to make it seem as if I never found my husband attractive nor loved him. Let's stop there for a second. I am, contrary to popular belief, one person, not a man, but also I gave you full context. That is stuff she said. Did I take parts of it and splice it together? Yes, but not because it took anything out of context. I'm telling you right now, she says she likes her husband today. She says she finds him attractive today. But it's very clear from the video that she really was never that into him. She really never felt love in the sense that you might think about it. Said, thought that I stole joy at some point. I mean, can you imagine? I don't care who you're with right now, whatever relationship you are in or have been in, if at any point in that relationship you said to yourself, I think this person is stealing my joy. At any point in that relationship, why the hell are you still in that relationship, right? So she's very mad that I shared this. And she says in the video, she says, I did think he was very handsome, so I was attracted to him physically. Sure, but she also didn't feel that for a very long time. There's me. What else did she say in this thing? Anyway, she posted her full video. She also said this on the Twitter. This person edited my video to spread slander about me. The unedited version is below. My husband and I have been married almost 44 years and love each other deeply. I've been attracted to him since we began dating over 45 years ago. Honey, that is not what you said in the video. Don't believe everything you hear. You don't have to believe me. I played you the clips. I showed you her website. I showed you things she has did. Part of it requires me to say anything. Nothing. You could see from her own words that she, at many points in their marriage, was not really into this guy. She doesn't have fun having sex with this guy. She says that. She said that was the case at least for 30 years. So unless something has changed in the last 14, I don't know. What is she? Best case scenario in her life, she thinks it's better to stay married for life and to be whatever, not that happy for the first 30 years, but stick it out because maybe it'll be fine. I mean, sex will still hurt, but at least you're together. If that's your idea of happiness, I'm just telling you, if you don't listen to her, you can find something way better. I don't know. This idea that this is what a good Christian marriage looks like is frightening. Again, she admitted she didn't love him when she first met him or married him. Wasn't excited at the very least. Her love story should be everyone else's nightmare. And she is so afraid of divorce, or she treats divorce as if it's such a horrible thing, that she's willing to sacrifice her own happiness to avoid one. And she just rationalizes that by pretending this is part of the package deal, as if you're obeying God. I'm just saying no one should aspire to her brand of Christian love. No one should treat divorce like it's a failure. And no one should accept unhappiness because their religion has brainwashed them into thinking it's just part of the plan. Really quick side note before I finish this. I was chatting with a friend of mine who I used to write with at Patheos, a site I used to write for. And she said that one time she wrote something critical about Lori Alexander. And Lori Alexander's husband wrote to her and said, "How dare you say this? You need to change it and you need to do a better job in the future." I'm just kidding. Lori Alexander's husband did not write to the woman who wrote that post. He wrote to the woman's husband. He sent an unprompted message to the writer's husband on Facebook and basically said, "Get your woman in line." And I'm going to show you what he wrote to her. Look at this. This is from Ken, Lori's husband. "Dear James, I hope this message finds you well. If you don't know who I am, your wife certainly does, as she regularly lies in her tweets and posts. I can understand that she hates what my wife Lori writes, and she's more than welcome to write against it, but these personal attacks on us need to stop and be taken down. We try to ignore her lies and libel. That's not how you spell it. But at some point, this has to stop or be stopped. I am hoping that you will be the gracious man of God who will help bring some sanity to all of this nonsense. Please feel free to respond with any questions that you have. If you and your wife have any of Christ in you, you will do the right thing." Oh my God. Can you imagine someone not liking you so much that they write to your spouse and they're like, "Get this person in line. It's your duty." Clear that I now have that message tells you that writer's husband was like, "Oh my God, you got to see this." Anyway, Ken Alexander did not silence that writer. And Lori's going to keep saying stupid things. I just hope no one listens to her. Okay, I'm going to stop there for now. What other questions we got? Oh, thank you for that donation, Carla. Lori Alexander is a sad, sad human. She's also detrimental to the mental health of anyone who goes to her for advice, including her children. I agree. She has a lot of children. I don't know what they're going to end up like, and I have no opinions on those kids. But man, if she's giving advice and people are taking it seriously, they're in for a really upsetting life. And again, I don't care as long as they're not trying to pretend like it's good advice for everyone else. If Lori just said this is good for me, okay, fine. I honestly wouldn't care. I don't care what these fundies do in their own life. But the idea that they say, "Let me give advice to everybody," that's what's scary. It's creepy how invested she is in the sex life of others and whether they have children. I mean, isn't that the critique with JD Vance too? Dude, why do you care who's childless and not? The same fundy women are obsessed with the sex lives of others. The same fundy men are obsessed with like fertility rates of everybody else. It's creepy and weird. What other questions we got here? What kind of guy doesn't want his partner to enjoy it? A bad one. I mean, yeah, isn't that's what came across my mind too. If sex is hurting your partner as the other person in that relationship, wouldn't you step back and be like, well, we should do something about this because isn't this meant to be something we share and enjoy together? I mean, that is like sex ed 101, right? But if you've never had sex ed and you think sex is just about procreation, then pain goes by the wayside. It's like, well, did it happen? Did he enjoy it? Because then that's all that matters to these people. Again, I'm not, I don't care what their sex life is like. But she is passing this off as if when a woman's in pain, whatever, just deal with it, which isn't just bad advice, that is harmful advice. It suggests to women that if they are being physically abused in the bedroom, whatever, shut up about it. That's just part of God's plan. And that is something I cannot understand or get behind. That's beyond messed up. And she has a job as a creator on YouTube. I mean, right? She has a college degree too. It's okay for her as long as everyone else is a good housewife. By the way, to the previous commenter, love the screen name. There will be cats. What was the other one? Learning to tolerate another human being is not what we mean by encouraging tolerance, and that's definitely not love, right? Preach. Amen. If your pituitary disorder lasts longer than 4 hours, see your doctor. Like when someone admits they have this, like she has admitted she has a tumor in her head, and I want to feel some empathy for her, and I want to be like, wow, I hope you get better. Sincerely, I hope she gets better. But also, my God, what's happening in your brain? Because that's not a pituitary thing. That's just fundy. Like that's the problem that exists with or without a tumor. But I hope she's okay. And how many times has she called queer people groomers, I wonder? Yeah, I'm guessing many. I mean, she's not empathetic. She doesn't have much sympathy for people who are not her. So, shouldn't be surprised by it. I look so cute as a cartoon, just like Disney. Aw, thank you. Yeah, it was a great little portrait she had of me on there, right? Thanks for bringing to my attention to the Satanic Temple and their activities during school board meetings. Lucian almost single-handedly stopped the Osceola school board. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for watching that video a couple weeks ago. And I believe the Satanic Temple today just opened their second abortion clinic. And yeah, I hope they keep pushing back. It's fun to watch the way they just, stick it to the church-state separation opponents. It's always fun. All right. Yeah, there you go. Transform yourself. Subscribe to the newsletter. Let me pull up something else and close all these tabs. So many tabs. All right. That really is a lot of tabs. Okay. This is interesting. Okay, I made a video about this maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, but it's been a while, so I am going to rehash a lot of what I said in this old video, but there's a good reason for it. So, a couple years ago, there was a college and career fair that was supposed to take part at a high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And thousands of high school seniors were supposed to take a field trip for this college and career fair. What actually happened is that they were sent to a church where there was a massive church service that was called the Day of Hope. And all the warning signs were there ahead of time. But because the students and their families trusted school administrators, or at least because they figured they could get free food and a day out of school, they spent their entire day listening to Christian propaganda instead of learning more about their futures. And it wasn't just unethical, it was. And I want to show you what one of the seniors at the high school at the time, a 12th grader, Alexis, here's how she described the event after returning from the field trip. Okay. And I'll show you this. And I just want you to note the very first thing she says in this post. Trigger warning, mentions of suicide and domestic violence. And that's not a good start to describe what happened during this day. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It actually goes on for a very long time. Just to give you an idea here, this is a very long post. But just the first paragraph. Today's Day of Hope field trip was a horrible experience. It was not advertised as a religious event, but rather a college fair. The majority of students chose to attend this field trip on the promise of free food and the opportunity to skip class. However, the majority of students were not only disappointed by the event, but traumatized as well. I attended this college fair as someone who plans on applying to colleges soon, so I was disappointed once I saw what the event actually was. And just to summarize what she said happened at this event, obviously the Day of Hope phrase has religious connotations. She said students were segregated by gender when the program began. But that's a weird thing for a college fair. Like, why do we need to segregate boys and girls? That's weird. For the girls, the speakers included a pastor who told them to stay virgins, another woman who said girls should not date, wait for God to bring you the right guy. There was a nurse who told a very traumatic story about her son taking his own life. That's where that trigger warning came from. Then, once the kids all came back together in the same room, they heard a sermon from a guy named Donk, D-O-N-K, who said, I used to be paralyzed, and then I was sentenced to life in prison, and then I got out. And he's not paralyzed anymore. And I don't know how that works, but there you go. And at the end of all of this, there was an altar call for any kids who wanted to commit to Jesus right then and there. So that's very, very disturbing. There was an article in the Louisiana news outlet, The Advocate. This is the headline. This is September 22nd, 2022. Parents, students complain East Baton Rouge school's field trip or like church service. Yeah, kind of was, right? That's exactly what happened. And in this article, and from the public statements that were made at the time, it's not like the red flags were evident only after the field trip occurred or like during the things, because this event was scheduled to take place at the Living Faith Christian Center, which is a church. It was sponsored by a Christian ministry called 2911 Mentoring Families. 2911 is a biblical reference to chapter and verse. And the group says on its website that their goal is to redirect our students to Jesus Christ, who defines their future, and to change the world. And by the way, they've put on similar Day of Hope religious events in the past. And what was so disturbing about this is, okay, the church is going to be the church, but what is the district doing about this? Well, look at what they said in The Advocate. In response to the concerns, the East Baton Rouge Parish School System issued a statement defending the event as an elevation of a traditional college and career fair. The statement also defended the school district's partnership with the nonprofit that put on the event, 2911 Mentoring Families, saying the group is providing additional support services for students in our district. We look forward to seeing what our over 2,100 student participants will continue to achieve with the resources and knowledge gained from this event. Maybe they'll be virgins in the future. Like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, just because the public school had a partnership with this ministry doesn't give it the right to voice Christianity on unsuspecting children. And I think that would be obvious if we were talking about any non-Christian religion. But because it was Christianity, I think all the adults in a position of power were like, this is no big deal. One of the other people who spoke out against this was actually a parent and a teacher. She's both. She was a teacher in the district and the mother of a senior. Her name is Brittany. She was at the event. And when she posted about it, she actually shared video from the event. It confirmed everything I just told you. She also shared the field trip form, which listed the address for the church, but it didn't say that it was a church, which is shady and the sort of thing you would do if you didn't want people to know where you were taking the kids. And I just want to show you some of what she shared online. I have had a day would never want to experience again. I'm going to scroll down here. Here we go. After they were inside the church, boys were instructed to go outside while girls were left in the church for girl talk. My transgender child was discriminated against for walking out. She goes on to say, from the beginning, no topics were discussed, but began male chauvinistic competition for monetary reward for winners. What? Then they proceeded to compete for push-ups for more money. They were hyped up and egged on. So basically, they told all the guys, yeah, we're not going to talk to you. Let's just be manly and we'll give you money if you're manly. I then learned that the children were told that in order to receive a meal ticket, they were told to complete a voter registration form. Like, if you want food, kids, be sure you're signed up to vote. Wink, wink, probably vote for the Republican. That's disturbing. And later on, a female student was picked out and told by a man leading the closing, I'll give you $100 if you can, like, Red Rover through me and get to the stage. And this is after they were talked about domestic violence and male control. What part of this resembles a college and career fair? None of it. It's just very, very disturbing. By the way, the woman who just wrote that, she's Christian, but she was disturbed by what took place, obviously. Like, none of this stuff would have been okay at a voluntary Christian youth camp, but it's so much worse when it's a public school field trip. She also mentioned, by the way, in that post, that students had to wait outside in 100-degree heat, that they were, like I said, incentivized to register to vote in order to get food, which is coercive and manipulative. And yet, even after this whole charade ended, what did the school district say about all this? This is what they posted after the event. Today's Day of Hope event, was amazing. We were honored to hear directly from students to help them address the issues they face and to provide them with motivation and guidance to empower their choices. And like, they have pictures of the event, and you can literally see that this is like at a church service. It's just unbelievably disturbing stuff. And when the Advocate, once again, the newspaper, when they reached out to the guy who was in charge of all this, let me show you what he said. Here we go, right here. In an email, Sterling said his organization has been holding events like the Day of Hope for students in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for over 10 years. The focus is providing resources and tools to young people as they prepare for their next steps after high school. Like, they've been doing this forever, and no one said anything about it. Like, he's not even pretending this was an accident. This is exactly what they plan to do. So, my point is, these people are not interested in what kids are doing after high school. They didn't help them plan for college or guide them toward a particular career path. They just pushed right-wing messaging on the kids, wasted their time, gave them a different way to ruin their lives with religion. Kids deserve better than that. And the fact that so many adults involved in the planning of this event knew they needed to hide the true nature of this program suggested they were all very aware of why this was illegal. Like, they were counting on students to keep their mouths shut, and the posts I just showed you where people spoke out, that was not part of their game plan. And so when I made this video a couple years ago, what happened is that 2 students and their parents sued the ever-loving shit out of the school district. All right, so that's some good news. This is the lawsuit they filed last year around this time. And you could see at the top, it says Jane Roe on behalf of her child, Jennifer Roe. Jane Doe and Jesse Doe. So we have 2 kids, 2 parents. I don't know which ones they are, but those are pseudonyms because they don't want to be harassed. And they sued basically everyone. The school board, the superintendent in their professional and personal capacities. And so that's where we left off last time. Like, they sued and we don't know what happened. The lawsuit described the harmful and traumatizing church service. 2 of the plaintiffs said they were high school seniors who attended the event. Their mother said they never would have consented to this if they had known what was going to happen. And so anyway, the lawsuit restated a lot of what we knew, but it said one thing I learned from the lawsuit is that they said this partnership had been going on since 2016, that the two sides were engaged in a conspiracy to expose public school. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the allegation in the lawsuit, that the two sides were engaged in a conspiracy to expose public school children to overtly sectarian and religious experiences. The lawsuit also pointed out that this event cost the school district $9,800 to proselytize to kids. One of the other interesting things is they can't even pretend like it was an accident what happened, because they pointed out in the lawsuit that the guy who ran the 2911 mentoring program, his name is Tremaine Sterling, he went on a local news show days before the event and literally lied about what he was doing. He said on that TV show, we're going to have college fairs, career days, workforce people, young people will have an opportunity literally to get hired on the spot. And yet, that's not what happened at the event. And at least one principal allegedly knew nothing about this in advance. So some people knew what was going to happen, and they kept it from the public. The lawsuit also said, and I'm quoting here, students were allowed, I want to find this for you. Students were allowed, check this out right here, number 34, intimidation and harassment of LGBTQ students at this church event were likewise rampant. Under the supervision of 2911, Sterling and the adult volunteers present, students were allowed, and in some circumstances encouraged, to harass LGBTQ plus student attendees, throwing water on them and taunting them. No representative of the school district or the ministry intervened or did anything to stop or prevent this harassment. Like, utterly despicable behavior. The same lawsuit says a student who needed to go to the bathroom was denied and told instead to urinate in a bottle on the side of the building. What the hell? They also said if students wanted to call their parents about the event and like, hey, mom, dad, can you pick me up? They really couldn't do that because the church had poor cell phone service, which made it hard for kids to get in touch with their parents. So they were trapped in this place. And the plaintiffs said they suffered from mental anguish. They wanted compensation for that. They wanted to stop the district from ever presenting, supporting, funding, facilitating, or promoting another Day of Hope event ever again. And why do I tell you all of this? Because guess what? This week, a judge decided to issue a major ruling in this case. And what the federal judge said, what happened in the past several months is that the school district has been asking the judge to toss out this case. And they make their arguments for why there's no merit, they don't have standing, whatever. So we want the judge to just dismiss this case like it never existed. Well, this week, the judge issued a ruling on the matter, and the judge's name is Shelley Dick. She's an Obama appointee, and she said, oh no, we are not tossing out this case. This case can and will move forward. That is amazing news. Specifically, she said, like, the district argued the mother couldn't sue on behalf of the child for whatever reason, but the judge is like, well, guess what? The child's 18 and she's now the plaintiff. She's allowed to represent herself, so I don't care what you have to say about the mother. The school board members said, we can't be held responsible because this event cost under $10,000, and that means by our policies, we don't have to be looking into the details because it's not that expensive. And the judge is like, I don't care. You're still responsible. Let me show you this from the judge's ruling. The problem of reliance on the school board policies to prove a fact is highlighted here. Just because the board has delegated the discretion to execute contracts under $10,000 to the superintendent, like if it's that cheap, the superintendent takes care of it, that is not proof that the board lacked knowledge or did not assent to the contract. The board policies are simply not evidence that the Day of Hope was not approved by all these school board members. Further, this is not appropriate on a motion to dismiss where we have to assume these allegations are true. So I'm not getting rid of this lawsuit just because you're asking me to, as if you didn't know what was going on, right? So throughout the ruling, the judge knocks down all the ways the defendants try to deflect blame for what happened, because they said it's the superintendent's fault. It's not our fault. They said the Day of Hope was not school sponsored. They said if there were any violation of rights, well, guess what? It wasn't because of our school board policies. So stop blaming us for it. And the judge just wasn't having any of it. There was an argument, an allegation was made that the school district violated Title IX, that the event discriminated against trans people and female students, and that's sex discrimination, and that, as a result, the district is guilty of sex discrimination. And the school district said, well, come on, you can't get us on that because no one got sexually harassed. And they say, our board policies say discrimination is wrong, so why are you mad at us? And the judge is like, what the hell are you talking about? I want to make sure I can find that for you here. Sorry, there's so much weirdness here. Here it is. In response to the sex discrimination bit, look at this. The court finds that the allegations of the amended complaint state a plausible Title IX claim based on this reasoning. With no meaningful analysis from the school board defendants, the motion to dismiss the Title IX claim against the school district will be denied. Like, you guys are not responding to what they said. We're not getting rid of this lawsuit just because you asked me to. The judge also agreed that the district should have known these problems could occur in advance, that this wasn't some accident. It's not like they invited a speaker to tell kids to avoid drugs, and then the speaker goes rogue and says, you know what you need to do, kids? Accept Jesus in your life. That might have not been the school district's fault. But in this case, the potential harm was so obvious before the event that you can't pretend like you had no awareness that might happen. So ultimately, the most severe allegations, if they are proven true, and they have not been yet, not according to a court, if they are proven true, it would be really damning for the school district. And for those reasons, the judge said, I'm not dismissing the most meaningful elements of this case. The only elements that were dismissed were some technical aspects of who can be sued under what capacity. But by and large, we're going to get a ruling on this. And the facts do not look good for the school district. And I just want to say all of this was avoidable. Like, the district should have known what they were getting into. They should have known about the proselytizing. They never should have approved the event. And I just want to thank the anonymous plaintiffs for having the courage to bring this forward. And they've raised a lot of fair questions about why the adults in charge did not appear to do a damn thing to stop the Day of Hope event. So I will leave it at that for now. What questions we got here before we move on to anything else? What state was this in again? This was in Louisiana. Is it legal to force kids to register to vote to eat? No. No, like, I'm all for telling kids you should register to vote. And if they don't want to, okay. But also to say you're only going to give you food. By the way, it's 100 degrees outside. So if you need some energy and you're hot, guess what? There's only one way for you to get food, and that's by registering to vote. Horrible. This church event sounds like my upbringing. The stream is actually cathartic for me. Thank you, Hemant. Oh, that's sweet of you to say. I'm sorry for rehashing all your childhood trauma, but thank you for watching. As a teen, me and my friends would have made a big deal of donk and completely taken this train wreck onto another track. Dude, there are videos of donk online where he talks about being paralyzed and he's not paralyzed. And it's like, dude, I have questions. Like, did you regrow your tippy toes too? What's the deal? That if you are not paralyzed, I have questions for your doctor as well. All right, like and subscribe, please. I got a couple more things I wanted to share with you, and then I think I'll be done here. This is a hell of a story here. Yeah, let's talk about this. Give me 1 second here to grab a drink. All right. Someone sent me this story this week, and I was absolutely horrified by it. And I want you to appreciate the courage it took for this guy to speak out. So there was a guy named Ronald Ecker. He is from Wisconsin. He likes riding bikes. And recently he suffered injuries to his neck to the point where he thought he was going to die. And why? Because he was cycling down a hill. And if this is disturbing, forward a few seconds, but he was biking down a hill and he basically ran into a wire that was hanging loose from like a telephone pole. He like ran into a wire. It wrapped around his neck as he was biking downhill. He's lucky that nothing more serious happened, right? And in the article about this in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, this guy actually allowed them to take pictures, and you could see just some of the injuries to the front of his neck. It's really disturbing stuff. And it gets even more serious when you look on the side of his neck. In the article, he actually says, I wanted to share this with you somewhere, that he thought he was going to be decapitated at first. He didn't know how serious this wire was or what was going on. It just thankfully stopped at some point. So what happened? How did he get injured here? Well, in order to understand what happened to this guy, you have to understand this thing right here. And it's called an eruv. All right. And if you've never heard of this, you should Google it. Because basically, what an eruv is that under Jewish law on the Sabbath, like from Friday night to Saturday night, you are not supposed to carry, if you are an Orthodox Jew, you're not supposed to carry any of your possessions between a private area, private space like your home, to a public space like outside your home. God says that's bad. So what happens if you want to take your baby to synagogue on Friday night? Can't do it because then you would have to step outside your house. What happens if you want to you forgot something in your car? You want to take your keys, go outside where your car is parked. You can't do it because that means you're stepping outside your home. Jewish law forbids it. But Orthodox Jews figured out a theological loophole. What if we wrap a giant string around the entire city and we just say, ooga booga, this is all private space inside the string? Then it doesn't matter what time of day it is because you're always walking in a private domain because the string is wrapped around the whole city, right? You can just turn your public domain into a larger private domain. It's magic. That's an eruv. It's the string you put around the city. It's like a gated community that you put high up in the air using poles and strings. If you put the poles up around the city and you connect them with the piece of string, voila, you've created a brand new giant private domain. So Orthodox Jews can roam and carry items freely within that space, even on the Sabbath. Now, obvious question. Doesn't God see through your little trick here? Doesn't God understand what you're doing? And the answer is shut up. Don't tell God what's going on here. How dare you? These people found a way to trick God, and they will have none of your criticism. So the thing is, in certain areas, in Milwaukee County, for example, local officials basically spoke with the Orthodox Jewish community in that location and said, because the Orthodox Jews came and said, can we wrap this string around our community? And they need to use, like, what's a very high stick that you could put around the city? Well, sometimes the only option is like telephone poles that are already there. But if you want to put string around those poles and, you want to tell those city officials, we don't want to interfere with electricity, power lines, or anything like that, but can we do this? We have religious reasons for doing it. We're not interfering with anything. Can we do? The local officials are like, yeah, that's fine. If you have a good reason for this and you're citizens in our community, we don't see the harm in saying yes to you. And in fact, according to the rabbi who runs the local synagogue, he said, we put these things up around Milwaukee County. We inspect them every week. I think like every Thursday, they hire somebody to go check the wires around the county, make sure they're still in place and ready to go for Friday night, and everything is fine. And whatever happened, I don't know what happened last month, but an eruv that was attached to a light pole got detached at one end. So instead of the wire hanging in the air, you can try to picture in your head, here's the telephone pole, here is the ground, and like here, can't do this on backwards on my screen, but you can imagine like there's the eruv attached to the pole and it hit the ground. and it formed like a right triangle right there. And no one knew it happened because the maintenance had already been completed and no one could really see the wire because it's relatively thin. And depending on the weather, it might even be harder to see the air roof that had been detached, right? So that is what this bicyclist ran into when he was biking downhill. Okay. And that's where it gets really disturbing. And let me show you in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel what happened here. Ecker said he was riding his electric bike down a hill, ... when a wire snagged around his neck. It was attached on one end to a light post and had detached from another anchor on the other side of the 4-lane road. So it's a big wire. So when he ran into it, the entire roughly 60 feet of wire skated across his neck, he said, leaving marks on the front, side, back of his neck. You could see that in the picture right there. It happened so fast you couldn't really see it because it's so thin, Ecker said. Quite frankly, I thought I was going to be decapitated. And again, that is absolutely horrific. I will say the rabbi who's in charge of all this, he apologized to this dude, but it's not like he said, you know what, we're going to remove the wires. No. Because for some people, religious mythology always overrides other people's safety. But he did say the wires would definitely get fixed because, the alternative would be having a broken air roof, and you can't have that then, can you? What will the Orthodox Jewish residents do if they don't have this magical fake fence around the community? And the weird thing is, even if everyone agrees that air roofs are symbolic, even if the Orthodox community takes it seriously, I don't understand why the wires need to be so damn thick to the point that if you look at them, they look like many threads of wire wrapped around each other like a cable, like an internet cable or something. I don't know why they're that thick. Why not use something softer and less hazardous if they are meant to be untouched and temporary? I get you might need something strong enough to withstand bad weather. I don't know why they need to be as thick and sturdy as they are. If it just find kite string and wrap it around every Thursday or something. Stop putting up big wires that could hurt people if they break. So anyway, local officials in Milwaukee County have said we're going to allow the air roofs to stay up for now, because I think in their minds, it's still a small ask that still, is important to a small segment of the community, but that might change as a result of this injury. And this is something that they asked the rabbi about. Since the land where Ecker was injured is managed by Milwaukee County, the rabbi said county attorneys are determining whether a wire over the road poses too much of a liability. If it does, and they ask him to move it, he will, he said. We will definitely make any effort to mitigate any of those possibilities for injury. And look, I appreciate that he said that. That's a good thing. But what the hell are we waiting for? Someone got injured. How do we mitigate the possibility of injury? Remove the damn wires. That's how you do it. It's not that complicated. And if the county decides it's a problem, I don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to move the air roof to a different space where it's not in anyone's way? I don't know. I think it's absurd we're even having this discussion at all, because I don't know why any religious group has the ability to use public utilities, light poles and whatnot, for their own religious mythology. Do other groups have the same kind of permission? I have no idea. Now, everything I'm telling you, let me try to play devil's advocate to myself here. Are there reasons they should allow the air roofs to stay up? Let me give you some arguments to answer yes. First of all, they make life for Orthodox Jews easier, especially women, because it gives them a way to function on the Sabbath without violating their religious beliefs. And if we can make life easier for people, regardless of their delusions, if it's not that big of an ask, I don't see what the big harm is, right? Near decapitation aside. And sometimes also the people who want to take down air roofs have anti-Semitic sentiments. If we get rid of the air roofs, maybe the Jews will leave. And obviously that's not something I support. I want religious freedom. If this is a bigoted thing to take them down, I don't want to be part of that. There's also the argument that usually these wires don't hurt anybody. No one in the community even knew these air roofs were there until a dude got seriously injured. But that only assumes they're out of the way and not hurting anybody. And they couldn't make it happen in this case. I would also say that unlike a Ten Commandments monument outside a courthouse, these eruves are another religious symbol, but it's not like they're saying if you don't believe our religion, you're going to hell or anything like that. It doesn't suggest people who don't agree with us are wrong or immoral. It's something they are doing for their own community. And if you don't want to believe what the eruv stands for, if you don't want to respect it, they don't care. They're not asking you to. Like most people don't know they're there. So there are reasons to be like, this is not that big of a deal. In fact, maybe, I don't know how many of you know this, there are maps of Manhattan where there's a huge Orthodox Jewish community. And I'm showing you this. This is real. This is a live map that still exists of the eruv that is circling all of Manhattan. It's massive. It goes around so much of the island. It is huge. And they do the same thing that they were doing in Milwaukee County. They inspect this thing every week before it's the Sabbath. And according to an NPR article about this, check this out. This is from 2019. They say it costs between $125,000 and $150,000 a year to maintain that eruv around Manhattan. And the rabbi there raises the funds every year from synagogues and private donations. Now, for those of you who have visited New York, did you know it was there? I'm assuming no, because that's how it should be. It should be out of sight, out of mind for everybody else. But again, a dude got injured. And I do wonder, like, is this a stepping stone to more egregious church-state separation violations? Like, it should be irrelevant that the string goes unnoticed because ultimately a religious group is still getting a special privilege, and I don't love that. And in this case, someone was injured because of it, and I definitely don't love that. Like, that should be more than enough reason for the county to say we cannot participate in this charade. Because if the boundaries formed by the eruv are imaginary, why can't the wires be imaginary too? Okay, I'm going to stop there for a bit. What questions we got here before I get to the last story? As a New Yorker, yep, there's a ton of religious laws and they jump through so many hoops to go around them. It's insane. Why have the law? Is your all powerful God going to say, you got me? You know, there was a story I think I covered last year about how Orthodox Jewish schools were not teaching kids the bare minimum, like when it came to math or reading or anything like that. And these kids, boys, were graduating from these schools and having no ability to read or write or add, which makes it impossible to really leave the organization, leave the religious sect, because you have no skills out in the real world. And the problem with that is that some of those schools were getting taxpayer dollars, like, what was it, like $100 million plus dollars for lunch, reduced lunch, things like that. And the thing is, New York city officials there was an open question of whether they would do anything about this because politically they do not want to piss off the Orthodox Jews. They want their votes. It's a powerful voting bloc. And so, yeah, there are lots of, especially in New York, they have so many religious loopholes that they allow that community in particular to go through, and politicians are afraid to touch it because they don't want to upset a very powerful voting bloc. They ask themselves, how can we work harder to get around the rules than we would have to work to change the rules? Yeah, I mean, if your religious belief says you can't leave on the Sabbath, maybe don't leave on the Sabbath. Either you obey that rule or you say, yeah, screw to hell with religion. But I don't get the loophole thing. And they're not the only religion that has loopholes about things like this. We all know what, kids who go to Christian Bible summer camp do in their cabins. There are loopholes for everything. There's a song by Garfunkel and Oates called The Loophole. It's great. But I'm just saying, if you don't want to abide by the religious rules, you don't have to. I swear, if you're an adult, you don't have to. It's actually illegal to post anything on a utility pole. That is true. However, in some communities, my understanding is if the community gives you the exception, if the officials there say it's okay for you to do something with their permission, then you're able to do it. So I don't know specifically what the deal is between the county in Milwaukee and this community, But they are using city property, county property to do this. So I don't know what the deal is. I figured you'd like this. I'm sitting in the library and my headphones disconnected and you blared out. Oh no. This guy next to me asked who you were and I told him, he said, there are no friendly atheists. I hate to tell you this. The guy sitting next to you in the library is correct. I am an asshole. Sorry, he got you there, Sean. I do have a question that I'd like him to answer. Do you talk about any other news stories that are important but have no religious significance? Usually, no, because on these live streams, I just kind of stay in my lane and talk about this stuff. I have very strong opinions on very stupid things. You want to talk about this season of Survivor? All for it. I have big opinions on it. But usually, as my family likes to tell me, like, you talk about religion with your internet friends and then just don't talk about anything else with them about anything because no one wants to hear what I have to say. It's all good. But no, I just talk about stuff that has church state separation or atheist significance that I think would be interesting to discuss. And that's it. I don't know. Maybe if enough people donate, I'll create a second live stream where I tell you all my thoughts about Robert Caro and Survivor and things like that. All right, sign up there. I got one last story for you here. Let me pull that up. And I'm going to close out 3 million tabs. You know what's funny? My old computer that I use for these live streams can manage all these tabs better than my newer one, which like shuts down if I open 2 things at a time. I don't know why that is. All right. Let's see. Okay. This is interesting. I talked a few weeks ago about a group called Evangelicals for Harris, and they were a group of progressive Christians who were like, you guys, we're evangelical Christians and we support Kamala Harris, and it's okay if you want to vote for her too. And they have a bunch of reasons for that. Well, this week, they were threatened with a lawsuit. From who? Franklin Graham, the evangelist, and the group he runs, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. They are threatening to sue Evangelicals for Harris because Evangelicals for Harris uses Billy Graham in their messaging, okay? And I want to tell you what's going on there. So just to rehash, if you missed it, the reason it's so important for white evangelicals to maybe vote for Kamala Harris is because in 2016 and 2020, roughly 80% of white evangelicals voted for Donald Trump. And so you expect that that same group is going to vote for Trump this time around because they haven't learned anything. But if you could put a dent in that number, if it went down to like 75%, because for whatever reason, a bunch of people said, I'm just going to stay home because I can't vote for Trump because he's a horrible human. And whatever, because of abortion or something, I can't vote for Kamala Harris. But if you got only 75% of white evangelicals to support Trump, that could actually go a long way to helping Kamala Harris. Very interesting. We'll see what happens. So Evangelicals for Harris is trying to make that happen. So this group formed, they're basically making a very straightforward argument. They say Kamala Harris is Christian. Tim Walz is Christian. They're Baptist and Lutheran, respectively. And their policies would help Americans who are struggling with jobs, with healthcare, with raising families, small businesses, whatever. Even their support of climate change policies could be framed as the Democrats want to help preserve the home God gave us. And so don't we want to be on the side of Jesus there or something like that? Now, Evangelicals for Harris is very, very clear that they do not agree with abortion rights. They fully say, like, we disagree when it comes to abortion. We might disagree when it comes to LGBTQ rights. But the thing about them is they say, we're not single issue voters. Politics are complicated. We're not going to base our vote on one issue and one issue only. We're going to look at it as a whole. And to paraphrase one of their talking points, when they say they are pro-life, Evangelicals for Harris, they want to see government help people after birth, not just before it. And, you know, surviving as a fetus isn't the only definition of pro-life. That means you take care of people when they're struggling too. Trump has no plans to do any of that. He has repeatedly denigrated groups of people he hates, put people in harm's way for political gain, like he did with Haitians in Springfield. He has threatened to repeal healthcare that saves people who need it the most. And again, I don't need to tell you, Trump has just taken the Christian vote for granted. Even when he's like holding up a Bible outside a church for a photo op after he uses tear gas on peaceful protesters, like, that's your idea of what a Christian is, really? Obviously, he's a racist, thrice married racist who has given hush money to porn stars he was having an affair with when his current wife was pregnant with his fifth child. He's a sexual abuser, the 2 Corinthians guy, the guy who lies constantly, the guy who can't name his favorite Bible verse, the guy who sells a Bible with his name branded on it, and raked in money from gullible supporters. Like, of all the things you could call Donald Trump, devout isn't one of them. If Donald Trump worships anybody, it is himself. Okay. The only reason you would believe he's a person of faith is because you believe him when he says he is, and that makes you really stupid. But also, let's just say hard, cold politics wise, the reason white evangelicals support Trump is they know he's not a Christian no matter what he says, but he gives them what they want, which is judges. So he said, you vote for me? Don't worry about how I act in my private life. I'll give you right-wing justices. They'll overturn Roe versus Wade. I will outsource my federal judge decision-making powers to the Federalist Society. You guys, you're white evangelicals. That's all you care about anyway, right? So don't worry about anything else I do. Commit a crime? Who cares? If I am liable for raping somebody? Who cares? Just look the other way. I'll give you judges. That's all you people care about. And that is pretty much the cold hard calculation that Donald Trump made. And white evangelicals were like, yup, we'll sign up for that because we don't have any ethics on our end. The same people who said Bill Clinton cannot be supported because he is not a good man in his private life, they turned around and said, Donald Trump's private life doesn't matter. Let's just see what he's going to do for us. So that's the sort of gullible, horrible thinking that evangelicals for Harris are trying to fight back against. So the last time I talked about them, they had just put out their first ad, which showed 2 clips. It was a clip of Billy Graham, the late evangelist, who was telling Christians that they needed to ask God for forgiveness. And then right after that was a clip of an interviewer asking Donald Trump, when have you ever asked for forgiveness? And Donald Trump basically says, I don't, because why would I ask for forgiveness? Everything I do is perfect, right? Well, I want to play for you their latest ad, because this one's fascinating as well. This is their new ad. It's about a minute long, and I'll let you see for yourself what it is. This is, again, from Evangelicals for Harris.
But you must realize that in the last days, the times will be full of danger. Men will become utterly self-centered and greedy for money.
My whole life I've been greedy. I've grabbed all the money I could get. I'm so greedy.
They will be proud and abusive.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
Uncontrolled and violent.
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
They will be treacherous, reckless, and arrogant.
I am the chosen one.
Loving what gives them pleasure instead of loving God.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet.
Maintain a facade of religion, but their lives deny the truth.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I'm not sure I have. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
Keep clear of people like that.
So that's the ad. And I was shocked to learn this, but apparently they have money to play that ad in swing states. Check this out from Religion News Service. That ad is the result of a $1 million ad campaign by Evangelicals for Harris. So they're actually playing that ad in swing states, basically to show that everything you learned about Christianity, everything you were taught represented good Christian values, Donald Trump does the opposite, right? So what do you want to do? Do you want to ignore your religious upbringing? Or are you going to support the monster? Because I'll tell you what, if Donald Trump had a D after his name instead of an R, every pastor, you know exactly what they would say. You cannot vote for this guy. He goes against everything we stand for. And by playing what Billy Graham said, one of the most respected men in America, every time they do the survey when the guy was living, he was one of the most respected men in America, to show clips of him saying, this is what a good Christian is. And then Donald Trump, I mean, maybe it'll get a handful of Christians in like Pennsylvania to say, all right, I get it. Maybe I shouldn't vote for this guy. So now Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son, is furious. This idea that the Democratic ticket is worth supporting because they more closely resemble the Christianity that his father preached for decades highlights his own failures, Franklin Graham's failures, as some red-pilled Christian alpha bro messenger. And according to Religion News Service, this is the headline they ran with, Evangelicals for Harris anti-Trump Billy Graham ad prompts threat of lawsuit. Apparently, on September 27th and October 2nd, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association sent cease and desist letters to Evangelicals for Harris, telling them to take down any ads featuring Billy Graham. And this is what they said in the letter, which, by the way, I tried to get a copy of, and I could not get a hard copy of it. It may be worth noting that in all of his years of ministry and across relationships with 11 U.S. presidents, Billy Graham sought only to encourage them and to offer them the counsel of Christ as revealed through God's word. He never criticized presidents publicly and would undoubtedly refuse to let his sermons be used to do so regardless of who is involved. And you know what? To some point, I do get where they're coming from because Billy Graham did not criticize presidents publicly. He preferred to cozy up to them in private, like he did with Richard Nixon, and trash Jewish people when they thought no one was listening. You can Google that, you'll find it. So anyway, it doesn't matter that Billy Graham would not have voiced his opinions about candidates in public because those are his sermons. Evangelicals for Harris responded, and they basically said, no, we're totally allowed to do this. What are you talking about? This is what they said in a response letter. You could see this right here. In short, Evangelicals for Harris's use of the short segments of Billy Graham's speech is legal, fully appropriate, and well within our rights. We will not be removing the ad I just showed you in response to your demand. The advertisement is a transformative, non-commercial use of less than 2% of a video you people disseminated aimed at a market that you are prohibited from targeting. Thus, use of this footage qualifies under fair use doctrine, which is, I think, to me, that's a solid argument. It is kind of funny that the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association is like, everyone, watch Billy Graham. You should do as Billy Graham said. They would love to get their message out there. And here is an ad that shows you something Billy Graham preached. It's not like it's an out of context message. That is what he preached for many years. And now his own ministry is like, don't show people our dad. We're Christians. Do you think we want people spreading the gospel? Hell no. Like, there is something deeply ironic about the fact that they don't want people seeing Billy Graham in this ad. On Twitter, or X, Evangelicals for Harris was a little less formal about how they said this. And I wanted to show you that. Here's our full statement from Evangelicals for Harris. In response to our first ads, Franklin Graham went on a conservative media tour calling us names and telling Christian audiences to ignore the scripture and Donald Trump's own words in our ads. When that failed and tens of millions of Christian voters not only listened to but shared our ads, Franklin Graham turned to a page in the Trump playbook and is trying to silence us with threats of a long and costly court process. Franklin is scared of our ads because we do not tell people what to do or think. We merely hold Trump's own words up to the light of scripture, the necessity of repentance, and biblical warnings against leaders exactly like Trump. Beautifully put. And I love that Franklin Graham is about to learn what the Streisand effect is. And I think it's interesting to point out, they have now sent 2 cease and desist letters, but you know what the Franklin Graham and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association have not done? They have not filed a lawsuit, because I think even they know that they have no case here, that it is fair use. If Franklin Graham thought he could shut these people up, he would have done it by now. Instead, he's about to just amplify their cause, which I appreciate, because again, even though I disagree with Evangelicals for Harris when it comes to the theology, if they can convince a handful of evangelicals in swing states to either stay home or do the right thing and vote for Kamala Harris, like that would be enormously beneficial. So these people, Franklin Graham would rather see Trump win than seeing Billy Graham's message get resurrected, which is weird. But this is why I think evangelicals for Harris deserve support. Like they are giving white evangelicals permission to do what so many of them deep down know is the right moral and Christian thing to do in their own minds, which is vote for a Democrat. White evangelicals have been fed this steady diet of Trump propaganda for years, often from their own pastors. They have been taught they cannot be faithful Christians and vote Democrat. They are told that the Republican Party, no matter what it does, they are sufficiently anti-abortion and anti-LGBTQ and good on other social issues, and they ignore the reality that GOP policies lead to more suffering and, ironically, more abortions if you look at the numbers post-Roe. So, and by the way, again, Evangelicals for Harris does not support all the Democratic Party's positions. Guess what? Neither do most Democrats. Have you seen the backlash when it comes to Gaza and stuff like that? Like, you don't have to like all the Democratic policies to know that Donald Trump would be a disaster if he were to win again. What sets these people apart, though, Evangelicals for Harris, is they are not going to let Trump destroy our democracy just because he promises to appoint right-wing justices who might give evangelicals what they want. They know that the doomsday scenario about a Democratic administration going after churches is bullshit. They want religious liberty for everybody, not just members of their own tribe. And when there are only two viable candidates on the ballot and one of them is a dumpster fire, then everyone who cares about any particular cause knows it's perfectly valid to say one option is better while working to advance the change you want to see. And if you believe that treating others compassionately and helping the least of these and bringing civility to the public square and centering your faith around forgiveness rather than hate is what Jesus would want, then there's no discrepancy between your faith and the politics of Evangelicals for Harris. If anything, honestly, I think the group is too kind to Billy Graham. This is a guy who was anti-Semitic, opposed LGBTQ rights. He was ambiguous at best when it came to racism in our country. Just look at things he said during the civil rights era. Billy Graham is not a hero. If he ever said anything, it's that it would be bad if right-wing fundamentalists merged with the political right. He said, and I quote, "The hard right has no interest in religion except to manipulate it." He was right about that. He said that in 1981. But by and large, Billy Graham is not the hero we're looking for. So I appreciate that Evangelicals for Harris, though, are using his words to try to convince Christians that it's okay. It's okay not to vote for Trump. He does nothing that they were taught a good Christian would do. So good for them. All the more reason to support the sort of work they're doing, even if their reason doesn't align with your own. And I know I said this at the beginning of this live stream, but on Tuesday, we're going to do a Humanists for Harris phone call. And Dan, if you're listening, maybe you could put up that link again in the comments. If you are secular and you are interested in supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, we're going to have Congressman Jamie Raskin, Jared Huffman, several other church-state separation advocates, Sasha Sagan, Andrew Seidel. Lots of people are going to be there. Check it out. And I think it'll be really exciting. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's take any other questions. Otherwise, I'll call it a night. Thank you, Carla. Keep making good trouble in solidarity. Right there with you. I appreciate that. I thought Graham's daughter led Evangelicals for Harris. Yeah, it's true. Actually, one of Billy Graham's granddaughters, maybe. She is, I don't think she's running it, but she has been outspoken in 2020 about her support for Joe Biden. And she may be affiliated in a loose way, if not running. She is affiliated loosely with Evangelicals for Harris. But yeah, there are members of the Graham family who are supportive of this cause. They're not all Franklin Graham, but Franklin Graham, unfortunately, has the loudest megaphone. I love how actually in context, quotes hurt the reputation of both individuals. I don't know which two you're talking about. Are you talking about Trump and Graham? I don't know which ones you're talking about, but I'm very curious. What else we got there? Greg Locke, you cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. Greg Locke is going through a lot right now. Every time he tweets with all caps, like, something's up his something. Like, but again, this is what some people, like Greg Locke aside, this is the sort of message a lot of pastors are sending from their pulpits. And even if they don't say this directly, they certainly imply it. And it happens all across the country. It's happening at mega churches. I don't know that it's swaying anybody, but I hope it turns people off to the point where they realize, I think this is too far. Trump is too messy of a person that I might have supported him in the past, but I can't do it now. And listen, I think it would be good if they voted for Harris, but if they stay home instead, that might be the big story of the election. How many white evangelicals choose to sit this one out? That might be the big storyline. We'll see. By the way, I voted by mail. I saw this. I think I said this last week. It was easy to do in Illinois. I already know they received my ballot. I'm done voting. It was easy. If you have the opportunity to do it, go take care of it. Go early vote. Do not wait till election day. You never know what's going to happen with the weather. I hope all of you in Florida are okay. Go vote early if you have the opportunity to do so. All right, the election is country over party. That's it. Full stop. Honestly, I do not get the people who are like, and I've heard this from Republican politicians, I'm voting for Donald Trump because he's a Republican and I support my party. Like, that's not a good argument. That makes you look bad. That part disturbs the hell out of me because I am not voting for Kamala Harris just because she's a Democrat. It's because she's the better candidate. Oh, thank you, Lady Merlin. My mom's church is doing a series against Christian nationalism. That's fantastic. I love seeing that. And I'm assuming that's not a non-denominational megachurch because there are plenty of churches that are against Christian nationalism and all that. Unfortunately, again, they're not necessarily the ones that get all the attention, but kudos to them for doing that. That's fantastic. Did Hemmant see Steve Anderson's sermon on his kids? So, update on a story I ran last week about hate preacher Steven Anderson. Apparently, the rumor that appears to be confirmed, and I personally heard it from a source, is that Steven Anderson was taken to a mental asylum involuntarily for a couple of days. I don't know why, but he wasn't available on Wednesday during his sermon. And the sermon that he was supposed to deliver on Wednesday was given by somebody else who basically spent some of the time trashing Anderson's kids. It's so messy what's going on right now with Steven Anderson's whole new IFB cult, where some of the preachers in the cult are speaking out against other ones and saying, I can't be a part of this anymore because he's violent. I don't know what's going on. I do kind of love the messiness, and I hope all of these people just go after each other and then decide to just go off social media for a very long time. All right. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you next week. Have a safe weekend. Thank you, Den, for everything you're doing. You make my life so much easier. You can support this channel by going to patreon.com/Hemmant. All right. Have a good one, everybody.